Hello and welcome to Down and Dirty with Darci. I'm your host, Darci Smith, also known as Career Coach Darci. We are here to get down and dirty about careers, uncovering salaries, wild stories, backgrounds, and more from guests with some of the most eccentric professions each week. This podcast is presented by Onomy. Welcome back to Down and Dirty with Down and Dirty with Darci. Sorry, I get excited. Hi, Raimi. How are you?
Hello. What's up?
Oh, nothing. What, did you do anything fun this weekend?
No, I read a book all weekend and I can't decide if I like it or not, but I'm still reading it. So I guess that means I like it. Has that ever happened to you?
I think so. No, because I can never get through a full book. I usually get to like halfway through and I call that good.
Yeah.
What book are you reading?
It's called Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. A lot of people have been posting about it on social media. And so I was like, oh, okay. It's supposed to be good. And I think it's good. I'm like halfway through and I can't decide. I'm going to finish it and I'll let you know.
Okay. Good to know. I'm like such a self-help reader. I like never read just regular books. And so I kind of want to get better at that. So I'm working through that.
I can help you. I don't read any self-help, which I don't, maybe that's become clear on this podcast. I'm like, I don't follow my goals. But we can exchange because I read all the fiction. You tell me the self-help and it's going to be great.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I would love that. Love nothing more. I had a girls' weekend this weekend. We went to Cayucas, which is like San Luis Obispo area.
Ooh,
it was so much fun.
I love that area.
We did like such an adult trip. Like just walked around, got coffee, like had a few drinks, but nothing crazy. We ended up doing like facials and like
That's my dream trip. I love that. Invite me next time.
It was so much fun.
That sounds so fun.
I loved it. I have this like the best crew in the world. Like we've been best friends since high school and we all have, we call each other the weirdos. So we all have tattoos on our finger. I'm like flipping you off right now, but it's like all here. Mine's the E, but we spell out the weirdos.
Oh my gosh. That's
I love
so
it.
cute.
Yeah.
Wait, I didn't know that. I love all your tattoos, by the way. That's so cute.
Thanks. Yeah. I have another appointment soon. I'm so excited. They're addicting for sure. But I always tell people I have like my left side is like all tatted and then my right side's like bare. So I'm like professional side and then like a little bit wild side.
I love that. Yeah. I got my first fake tattoo from this place called Ephemeral. And it's the same process as a real tattoo, but the ink fades in a year. Although I got this like 4 months ago now and it is not fading. And I'm a little bit concerned because it's literally a chicken on a skateboard and I would not have gotten that if I knew it was going to be permanent. So stay tuned in 6 more months to see if it's gone.
So it should eventually all fade away though.
Apparently, yes. That's the theme of it, which is like cool, but I feel kind of lame. Like I'm not getting the real tattoo and I see yours and I'm like, oh, they look so cool. Maybe someday. I'm testing it out.
Maybe someday. Yeah, you don't have to tell people though. Just tell them it's real.
Exactly.
Not to mention, I love that tattoo. I think you should get it permanent. I think it's so funny.
I do.
And so cute.
I do love it. I imagine myself being like 60 with it, and I guess you know what? It's funny.
It's a good story.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to do something a little bit different today. So today it's considered my solo episode, but basically what it's going to be is Raimi is going to take over as host. And then all the questions that you guys wrote in, nothing was off limits. I think she also created some herself. So she's going to be interviewing me today.
Yeah.
So get to learn a little bit more about me. Maybe
now it's the real Down and Dirty with Darci because we got questions about like how much money you've been making your whole career, like all of the juicy stuff. So I'm very excited to get into it and hear from you today.
I'm excited. I feel like I am such an open book when it comes to this stuff, especially with salary transparency. So I'm excited to share and hopefully it can help people.
Yeah. We got a lot of good stuff coming in this episode. So I guess let's kick it off and just get like a little background on you, where you're from, how you got into the whole career coaching world.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm from Bakersfield, California, which like most people don't know of, but it's Central California. It's like where all the cows and oil is. So I grew up there, and then my entire life I just wanted to do one thing, which was play soccer. So my whole goal was to get to a Division I soccer team. So I ended up going to school out in South Carolina, and so I never really thought a lot about my career and what I like planned on doing or being. It was kind of always just sports all the time. And then I ended up getting injured, and so which kind of led me to more school. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll just go get my master's and, keep playing. So I did that. And then when I graduated, I was like, I don't know, like what I want to be, who I want to be, like what I'm going to do. So I kind of just jumped into the corporate world. And then from there, kind of fell into recruiting. And I just realized I absolutely loved helping people prep for interviews. Like that was my favorite thing because a lot of it comes down to confidence. And that's something like I just love to talk about and like help people with. So I started doing that more and more. I was recruiting for about 3 or 4 years. And then I was like, I really want to like do my own thing. I'm kind of maybe a side hustle, just kind of start writing people's resumes for them for a couple $100 here and there. And then I was like, let me jump on social media and see what happens. And then here we are 2 years later. And I have like obviously a TikTok and Instagram following. And I've never paid for marketing or done anything to push my business any way else except for be on social media. So it's been pretty awesome.
That is so cool. I feel like a lot of people want to get into recruiting because, I mean, I've heard, and I even considered it as a career path. Like, one, I think there's pretty good money in it. I'm not really sure. And two, like, I don't know, you don't really need a master's degree. Like, what is the steps you need to take to become a recruiter? And can you do that? Like, can you switch careers to become a recruiter? Like, what's the process like?
Definitely. So it depends on what type of recruiter you want to be. So there's internal recruiting and then there's external recruiting. So internal means you're working for an actual company and then you're recruiting just for that company and you're doing all the screens and going through the resumes and helping to onboard people onto the team. That one's a little bit more like, it's less salesy. It's actually like a proper, like more like an HR position.
Right.
And then an outside recruiter, they call them agency recruiters. So you're working as a third party agency and then you have to find clients that want you to help them find candidates.
Okay.
So it's like they call it full desk. So you're working the side where you're looking for clients, which would be a company, let's say like Onomy, right? Onomy is looking to hire someone. So I'm like reaching out, cold calling the owner and saying, hey, like, can I help you guys find someone? You would have to pay me a fee, but here's how it works. Here's how I can find someone for you. So you don't have to worry about any of that. And so that's more of a sales role because obviously you're cold calling and trying to get people. And that is where, you don't necessarily need a master's degree or any of that. I mean, they say bachelor's, but I am a firm believer that like you don't always need a bachelor's degree for things, especially not for sales. Sales is all about just like networking, getting to know people, just like pushing through those barriers. And so if you're willing to do that, then there's a lot of money in recruiting because it is a sales job.
Oh, that's so interesting. Yeah, I feel like the two different paths, I don't know, you've done both, right?
No, I've only done outside agency recruiting.
Oh, okay.
I've volunteered with companies that I just really like and I've helped them as an extension of their talent acquisition team. Because I wanted to get that experience of actually like working internally to see like what their ATS system looked like and stuff. So that would help me as a career coach. So I did it as a volunteer thing just to learn more. But my whole career has been in agency recruiting and I own my own recruiting firm right now that is also a third party recruiting firm.
Okay, cool. Wait, so I want to know, and I'm sure a lot of people actually wrote in about like how much money can you make doing these things? Like how much did you make at your first job? And what was your like salary trajectory over the years?
Right. Yeah. So my first job out of grad school, I didn't have any experience at all in the corporate world. So I basically entered the same way someone would be entering after a bachelor's. I probably should have used my MBA as more of leverage, but I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have a career coach helping me. So I ended up getting a job as a management trainee and I made $48,000 a year. It was salaried, so it was miserable because I was working tons and tons of hours. And 48,000, I mean, it's not bad for your first job, but looking back, I'm like, man, I should have like really like tried and like applied to other places. I feel like I just kind of took the first job that came my way. And then from there, I moved into sales at Cintas, which was my first company. So I moved into sales there. I got a pay bump. I think I was like 55,000 on the base. You get a car package. So that ends up being like another $13,000 a year. That's put towards your car payment and everything. And then you make commissions. So when you sell, obviously you make commissions. So I didn't make that many commissions. I wasn't that great at it. It was really intimidating for me at first. I was literally walking on the sidewalks, like knocking on doors and like trying to get people to buy toilet paper and uniforms from me. And like, it was so hard, so hard. So I quickly got over that, and then that's what, like, a friend went to a recruiting company, and she was like, "Hey, you should come." And so what happens at recruiting companies is you get paid when you place people. So when I place someone, I would make a percentage of their base salary. So just to like put it into like easy numbers, like if someone is making, whatever their base salary is, I typically would charge the company 20% of their base salary. And then obviously that money, half of it goes to the company and then half of it goes to me. So in recruiting, like when I left my last recruiting company, I made $150,000 in 6 months, and then I left.
Wait, that's
Yeah.
insane. So that's a really huge difference from what you started to
Yeah.
where you eventually got.
That's the power of
Whoa.
sales though. Like
Yeah.
in sales, you just grind it out, and like it's not easy. For sure, it's not easy. And I'm not going to lie, like there's a lot of tears, like a lot of people that like hate recruiters, like just think we're, terrible people, all this stuff, and it's like of course there's terrible recruiters out there, just like there's a lot of people that are terrible at their job. But
Well,
like
can
there's
you
also a
tell
lot of
me?
great recruiters.
Yeah, I feel like the main goal of a recruiter is really to help place someone in a job that is right for them, right? So like what is the misconception? Why are there bad recruiters? Like are there people that are really just doing it to
Right.
get all that money? Like, oh, I'm going to place this person at this tech company because it's
Yeah.
like a lot for me. Okay.
100%. I mean, I've even talked to recruiters that they'll have 5 job openings and they'll meet someone who's good for all 5, and they'll only send them to 2 because those 2 are the ones that are paying the highest fee to the recruiter. Like that is so shitty because you're not
Yeah.
giving your candidate the opportunity to have the best job possible. You're just trying to place them into the role that like makes you the most money. And that's where like I get really frustrated, and I tell all of my candidates all the time, like, hey, I want you to work with multiple recruiters. I want you to have the best options possible. If my job happens to be that one, like amazing, works for you, works for me. But like what good is it going to do if I force you into this role? I get paid, great, but then you hate it, and now you're telling your friends like, Darci forced me into this role, like don't work with her. Like it's not good for my brand. Like that's
No.
not what I want. Like I want you to be happy and telling people like you should work with Darci, right? And that's what's got me to where I'm at today. But don't trust recruiters. Like ask them, be like, do you have other openings? Like it like if you say to them, can I work with other recruiters, and they say no, huge red flag.
You need to like advocate
Huge.
for yourself in those situations, like the same way you would with any hopefully like job interview or job process, is like asking the right questions like that. Okay, very interesting. I never knew any of that. That's really good to know for anyone who's interested in pursuing the recruiting career.
Yeah.
Switching gears a little bit, I would love to know, like, as a recruiter, as someone who has hired a ton of people, helped a lot of people get jobs, what are some of your best tips for the interview process when it comes to either talking to a recruiter, hiring manager, or like all the way up through the process?
Yeah, so I have 2 big tips, and they're broad. But number 1 is always, always, always come prepared with questions. That is my number 1 tip to anyone listening. Like no matter what, if it's your first interview, if it's your 17th, like I don't care. Come up with at least a couple questions to ask at the end, because it just shows that interest, and it shows that you really truly care about the role and what your position will be like in the role. So that is my number 1 like end all be all. My other one is don't change who you are or your answers to what they want you to say. The second you start doing that is the whole reason there's so many people in toxic work environments, is because they change something about themselves to fit into the mold of what they thought the company wanted. Now, once you get into that role, you realize, man, I don't fit in here. So my biggest thing, especially nowadays, like people, they're appreciating the human side of things more than the robotic, like perfect answers in an interview. So don't be afraid to be yourself, and like ask quality questions that like truly you want to know about. Like, hey, is this position open because someone left this role, or because someone's growing into another position at the company? And if they left, why did they leave? What were the challenges of this role? Like, where could I potentially be unhappy? Like what's the failure? What's the success rate? Like get to know the role in and out before you jump into something, because the worst feeling is like, oh, I got my dream job. And then a couple months later, you're like, wow, well, that was not it.
Yeah, like I hate this now. I always got this advice to, like, at the end of an interview, ask questions, right? And then I was told to ask the question. I think you and I have talked about this before, but I was told to ask the question like, Is there anything that you see that makes you hesitant to hire me in this role? What is
Right.
your take on that question? Like, I'm always afraid to ask that because I don't want it to highlight anything negative that they weren't already thinking about. But I'm
Right.
curious, your take.
This is a huge controversial thing. And I say that because I've talked to a lot of hiring managers about it because I want to know their opinions, right? Like they're the ones doing the interview. And it's 50-50. So 50% of them say, I love when candidates, it's called closing the interview. So they say, I love when candidates do a hard close. A hard close is when you say something like, do you have any hesitations or reservations moving me forward in the interview process? And then just stop talking. And that's a hard close because they have to respond. A softer way to do it would be to say, like, is there anything about my background that we didn't get to touch on, right? Like that gives them the opportunity to say like, okay, is there anything missing here? You know?
Ah, I like that better. It's a little bit
Yeah.
more like of a positive spin on it.
Right. So my advice, if you want to know like, oh, should I close? Should I not close? My advice is if you're interviewing for a sales position, always hard close because it proves to them that you're not afraid to do so. Any other position, go with the soft close or go with the, what are the next steps in the process? Just showing that you want to learn more and are like wanting to get to that next stage.
Right. Ooh, okay. I love that. That's such a good tip. So your whole background in recruiting, career coach, like how did you then decide, I want to start my own business? And like, how were you not afraid to do it? Because it sounded like you were making pretty good money. Like, what was that process?
Yeah, I actually left my previous company when I was currently number one in the company. And so I kind of just told myself, like, I'm going to push as hard as I possibly can for these first 6 months. And if I can hit the money that I wanted to make for the year, which was 150, then I'll have that extra 6 months to like see if I can start my own business. And so that was kind of like the impetus. So I was like, I really wanted to build something of my own. And in the back of my mind, I always knew it was going to be a recruiting company, but I knew it was gonna be really hard to like, and I'm still, trying to find clients for the recruiting company, and like I'm making money there, but not a ton. And we can go through that too, but not a ton, right? So I was like, I need something on the side. And then I didn't realize like that career coaching could be a full-time job. Like,
Right.
I think last year I hit I want to say I didn't pull my numbers, but I think around 140 grand for the career coaching, like just with that. So it's definitely something that I could continue to pursue. If I did like courses and stuff, I could probably make more just because if you think about obviously you have like more people buying the courses. Yeah, exactly. So like there's things to scale it, but I think I'm having my real goal is to build this recruiting firm, and like that's kind of where my heart is. And to be honest, the career coaching thing has always been something that I truly do to help people. Like
It's not to make money. It's to help people. Yeah.
Like of course, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say it's not to make money because it is. Like I still have to live, but and I want to make as much as I can, right? Like I'm definitely driven by by money. Like I want to do well for myself, and there's no shame in saying that. And the biggest thing though is like I wouldn't be posting all these videos all the time. There's so many people that don't pay me for the advice that I give. And that is what like really fuels me, is like, I know that I'm changing people's lives just by helping them with all of these videos and free content I have out there. And that's like really like, I never want to stop doing that. Like even when I stop doing career coaching as a job, I want to always be posting these videos and things because I know they're helping people.
Yeah. If you start like the difference between, I mean, your career coaching and like your social media presence and the recruiting firm is, does the recruiting firm like allow you to not be like, this is how I feel on social media sometimes. It's like, I am the product. If I don't show up, nothing's going to happen. Does the recruiting firm kind of allow you to pull back a little bit and like, okay.
Yeah, like, I mean, I bet you most people listening to this podcast don't even know that I have a recruiting firm.
Yeah.
Like, it's like not something I really talk about on social media and stuff. And it's like, it can all be done behind the scenes. If I wanted to, I can hire a team, and then I can kind of like slowly kind of work my way out of the, having to do the grind of the recruiting aspect.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want something that can live on its own and doesn't require me to wake up and be on social media every day. I mean, it's honestly exhausting. Like today I was crying because of freaking TikTok again, like always.
Wait,
and
why?
I'm just like, I posted a video trying to like explain to people about like how a LinkedIn headline can really help you get noticed by recruiters. And the way that I explained it in the video was I guess a lot of people were taking it. I guess it's my own fault for like the poor execution, but I didn't really go into how a good recruiter researches and like finds people, because that wasn't the point of the video. The point of the video was like, hey, this is how you should write your headline, because if I'm searching account manager on LinkedIn, I don't want to see 5 million account managers. I want to see the one that works in a specific industry or works with a specific tool. And so everyone's commenting like, you're the worst recruiter. You're just so lazy. You're not actually searching. You're only looking for title. How dare you? And I'm like, God, I just like, it's so hard. It's so hard because they're attacking like
tiny thing that is taken out of context of your entire like page, really. And you're literally just trying to help people who are looking for a job. You're not talking about what you do, like
right. Yeah, and I know like I sometimes I just wish people would attack my looks. Like I wish they would just
Dude, I know, same on my TikTok. I'm like, when you insult my intelligence, like that's actually what pisses me off and makes me feel worse and more defensive. Like if you just say like, ew, your hair sucks. Okay, whatever. Like I don't know.
I'm like, can you just tell me I'm so ugly or boring, or just like say things about me? Like I can take that. But like the constant like, I guess just the digs at like what I'm doing to help people, like that's what it hurts me, because I'm like, man, like I'm really trying to post this to like help people, and then you're sitting here being like, this is terrible advice, don't listen to her. And I'm like, how do I even combat that? Like, so anyways, I think there's a lot of things I struggle with when it comes to social media, but like not reacting and just kind of being like, I can't please everybody, obviously, but it's freaking hard.
I have a question that I feel like a lot of people want to know, and I think some people wrote in about this. How much money can people make on TikTok and Instagram? And like how much of your income does your social media presence take up?
Hardly anything for me personally. I'm just because like the niche that I'm in, like I'm not an influencer, like I'm not a wellness lifestyle travel, I'm not a blogger, you know what I mean? I get a few, things here and there, but I mean maybe 10-20 grand a year, if that. But like that's not to say like if I really wanted to push it and start posting a lot more and like putting out more, like showing brands that I can post about brands, because once they start seeing that on your page, then they're like, oh, okay. And I just that's just not been a priority for me. But yeah, I mean, like you have people like, if you just take like corporate Natalie, she's making like 40-50 grand for one video. So it's like, I shouldn't, allegedly, I shouldn't say that.
That is so it's like wild to me, because I don't know, I could rant about this for days. I saw corporate Natalie on a TV commercial the other day. Like, actually, I was watching football. You'll be proud of me. But she came on a legit like TV commercial. I can't remember the brand, but I was like, what? This is wild that she's making just like little funny 10-second videos. And now, I'm like, dang, I should have went the humor route, because these humor content creators it's crazy.
I know.
Wild. But so that's like the 10 to 20 grand, is that like, that's from like brands and sponsorships. You're not necessarily counting all of the stuff you make from career coaching, which is a result of your social media presence.
Right. I mean, so just put it this way, my marketing is social media. So that's how I market. People see the videos, they like the videos. Okay, I can learn something from her. Therefore, I will pay her fee to meet with her. Right. So that's where my income comes from, is my one-on-one coaching. I have a few like mini courses out there and stuff like that. So that's like most of it. And as you can imagine, like I can only spend so much time on Zoom. So it's like I only can make a certain amount of money if I'm constantly doing one-on-ones. And that's why people people scale with courses, because then you can, sell your courses in your sleep essentially. I get a lot out of these one-on-ones from talking to people and like seeing their transition and like seeing it all happen. So like I'm not done with that yet, but I think eventually, I'll have to kind of move away from that just to scale. But yeah, for now I really, really enjoy it.
Yeah, I love that. I have a question, because we always, read embarrassing work stories on the career column on the podcast. Yeah. And so I wanted to ask you, throughout your years, what is your most embarrassing work story?
Oh my gosh. The one that's coming to mind right now is, okay, so I worked at Cintas. They ended up paying to be in a national commercial. So they had built, I worked at the LA location. So they were actually filming like right near our location, and they needed to use our trucks and all that stuff. So we have these like big work trucks. You've probably seen them. They say Cintas on them. And they asked me, they're like, Darci, can you drive the work truck to the location that the commercial's being shot at? And I'm like, yeah, of course. And so they're like sending me all the information, right? So oh my God, it's so embarrassing. I hope like, if they ever hear about this, it's so embarrassing. Okay. So I'm like, okay, it's a brand new truck. It's like, so nice. I turn into the wrong parking lot. It ends up being a garage. So I freak out and I like go to reverse and I scrape the entire side of the truck.
No.
Yeah. And I am sitting there, I'm calling my dad. Like I'm crying. I'm calling my dad. He's like explaining to me how to like buff it out and like all the things. And I'm like, I'm going to be late to the shoot. Like this is like, they like paid this like super expensive like director that directs Super Bowl commercials. Like I was so nervous.
Was that car going to be in the commercial?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh no. Oh no. Wait, how did this end?
How does this happen? Okay, so I was able to buff it out enough, and then when I drove up, I drove the truck as such, so like no one could see the side, because obviously there's two sides to the truck.
Yeah, movie magic.
Yeah, they couldn't see the backside, but I literally thought, I was like, I'm getting fired, my life's over, like I can't. Yeah, so that's probably my most embarrassing. But I do have, this isn't a work story, but it's kind of funny. I had just gotten on the car package at work, and like the biggest thing was like you can't get tickets and like stuff like that. And I was driving home and I kind of rolled through a stop sign, and the cop pulled me over, and I immediately just started bawling, and I was like, I just got on the car package at work, like please don't give me a ticket, and like all this stuff. And I have never in my life gotten out of a ticket, and he literally he didn't give it to me. He's like, I feel so bad, like I don't want you to get fired, like okay, just go. I was like, yes.
Did you like legitimately cry? Because that works for me every time.
I can cry right now. I can cry at the drop of a hat.
Me
too. It never works for me.
Really? I was going like 60 over one time, and yeah, not on purpose. I was going down a hill and like whatever. I was literally going 70 and a 30. I don't know, something crazy. That's not 60 over. I can't do math. But I cried to the police officer, and yeah, I've never gotten a ticket in my life because I cry every time. I've been pulled over like 6 times.
Knock on wood. I got a warrant out for my arrest because
Okay, wait, what?
It was such a shit show. I got a ticket in Georgia. I was going like 89 and a 65, whatever. And so I got a speeding ticket. I thought I had paid the ticket. I paid it like I sent in, in the mail. Well, it turns out I never got there. So then I went to renew my license, and they're like, you have a warrant out for your arrest.
They're like, come back with us.
Yeah, so my license was suspended. I had to pay all this money. It was terrible. Terrible.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
But
that is crazy, dude. I really want more people to write in like their crazy, embarrassing work stories. I think we still have a couple more that we're going to read on like the next couple episodes.
Yeah. Definitely.
Oh, that is so funny. So wait, did your job care about the car thing? Like
they never know. Like that's why it's so. I'm like, I haven't spoken a word of it. This is the first time I've said anything.
All right.
And so I don't even know.
Hopefully you're not listening, because maybe they noticed like a couple months later and they were like, what the?
Yeah. Why is this truck like scratch? And like, Darci, why the heck did you think that the parking lot could possibly be inside of a garage? Like, why didn't you reverse sooner? It was just, the whole thing was terrible.
Yeah, I was just trying
sweating.
You were just trying to do the good thing. And sometimes when you're like so focused on not messing up, that's like when you actually fuck up the most.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah.
That's so bad. Okay, speaking of like messing up, I feel like you are very confident online. Like you put yourself out there in a lot of ways, even on Instagram stories. Like you talk about your personal life, you're like confidently on TikTok all the time. Is there anything that you personally like struggle with? I don't know, confidence wise. Yeah.
I saw people write this in. I mean, I feel like, I hate the term fake it till you make it, but there is a little bit of truth in that. Like
Agree.
When it comes to confidence, like, I don't know. I think it's a bit not realistic to sit here and be like, oh, I'm so confident. I think I'm great and blah, blah, blah. Like, right. It's like, I just know myself so well that I'm confident in who I am. And I've realized lately that a lot of it just comes from having fun. Like when I tell myself like I'm having a good time, it comes across to other people like confidence.
Yeah.
But like, I struggle really, and this is like so vulnerable and like embarrassing to even say out loud. And I don't even know if I want to say it, but I'm going to. I like really, really struggle with like body image. And I know I want to say this because it's very, I mean, I know a lot of
extremely, yeah.
A lot of us do.
I'm with you.
Yeah, I like have real, I mean, to the point of like, I opened up to my friends about it this last weekend. Like the thought of like when we're out to eat, like my mind is constantly going like, oh, do people think I'm eating too much? Do they think I'm not eating enough? Like, are they going to ask me about like why I'm not eating this piece of bread? Or are they going to mention something about like, oh, what diet are you on this time? Like, I just feel like it's like I have such an insecurity around my body. And then obviously putting myself out on social media, like, I don't know. It's probably helped a bit because I've like learned to just be like, I am who I am. But like coming from the background of being a Division 1 athlete, like I'm expected to be at a certain level. And I feel like when you look at me, like I don't look like that. Like I don't look like, I'm normal, it's like what I like to call it. And so I just like, yeah, I can't walk past the mirror without looking at it. Like it's bad. Like it's mentally draining and something I'm working on in therapy.
Isn't it? Dude, I so relate. I think you and I talked about this in one of our car rides, but I've been there. I'm always there. Isn't it crazy? Like, whenever I tell, I don't know, the men in my life about this struggle, they are like, what? You think that much about, like, what you're eating on the daily basis? I'm like, it makes me so mad that they don't have to worry about it in the same way that we, like, I don't know. I don't want to generalize, but, like, it's just crazy that I think it's one of the most relatable things that all women deal with. So
yeah, definitely.
None of us are exempt.
That is my biggest struggle, that and comparison. I have to tell myself constantly, like, don't compare yourself to other people, whether it be, success-wise, whatever. I mean, I get messages from like these, other career coaches and whatever, like, I can't believe you're only charging this. You should be charging more. Or, oh, I made it like $1 million this year. Like, how come you're not, because I'm very transparent. Like, I made 140, that's what I made. Oh, how come you're not like scaling up to $1 million yet? Like, that's wild. And I'm like, I don't know. I can only do what I can do, and I want to be proud of my success and not feel like I'm constantly comparing myself. So that's like definitely something I struggle with. And I know it's very common to look at other people and be like, oh, I wish I was doing that. And it's like, I just have to really reel it back in and think, what have you done for yourself? And like, that's the only thing that you can compare to.
Yeah, I think I love this. The comparison is the thief of joy. You've heard that a million times. It's so true. Yeah. And then I heard another one recently, like, compare equals despair. And it's like, it's so hard not to do it. But one thing that has helped me as like a creator, and I see other travel people, travel bloggers monetizing stuff the way I'm not, or they're putting out reels every single day. And I just don't have time to do that. And I get in my head, like, I should be doing this. I am losing an opportunity by not doing this. Like, what if I did do this every day? And I just, it becomes a cycle. But something that has kind of helped me, and like, I think we've talked about this too, is like, I follow a lot of travel creators, but I mute them so I don't see their stuff, because if I'm not seeing it every day, there's not as much for me to compare to. And then I can just focus on like creating and not consuming.
Yeah. I do that too. I mean, I mute so many people.
Yeah.
I'm like,
it's like, I love your stuff, but I don't want to see it, because then it impacts my own creative process too. So
definitely. Yeah. And for anyone listening that follows me and that gets annoyed of me, just mute me, don't unfollow, just mute.
Yeah. But like, it's hard to be among your peers sometimes in that way. But like, everyone else follow Darci for the best career advice in the world.
Thank you. Thank you.
I want to go into, there's like a couple more questions from users that I have, so we can move into that segment of like DMs from people, DMs to Darci.
Do it.
So there's some general type of questions related to helping people in their careers and their job search. So the first one is, if I don't have a degree, what industry or area can I work in to make the most money?
Ooh, that's fun. I would really, at this point, I would go the tech route and find certifications, depending on what you're interested in. And you can literally just, go down a rabbit hole on Google and figure out like things that you're interested in, whether it's UX UI design, or actually you enjoy coding or marketing. Like, you don't have to be like a coder to work in tech. There's so many other things. And typically you can find something that you can get, just one thing, right, that you can get so good at and leverage that skill. Because if you start to become a jack of all trades and you don't have a degree, then that's really tough. But I would say I'd go that route. And then, like I was saying before, sales, if you're good at selling and you can get people to buy from you, nobody gives two shits if you have a degree or not. So that is like, if you truly want to make the most money, like that is your path. I mean, my first person that I placed in a job, he is now making over $500,000 a year as a salesperson without a degree.
Wow.
Because he's just honed in on his skill. He sells one type of product and he's just grown and grown and grown. And it's been like 5 or 6 years, but like to make $500,000 a year, like without a degree.
That's amazing. What does he sell?
Tech. I mean, he sells tech enterprise products. So like if you think of like software as a service, anything of that sort, like get into that world and just like drive it home. That's what I would do.
Yeah, I love that. I was
or be a recruiter.
Can you be a recruiter? How would you get into that if you don't have a degree?
If you're willing to do like the grind work, which I think that like you kind of have to grind, right? If you can't leverage the degree or whatnot, right? So I would look at like a Robert Half, those like bigger agency type job. They're always hiring, like always. And as long as you can get that on your resume and just kind of build from there. But I don't want to like say recruiting's the best job ever, because it's not. It's hard. And it's, you know, the skills that you learn as a recruiter keep you in recruiting. So if you're trying to move and like, you know, you want to like use recruiting as a stepping stool, that is not my advice. I would say only go into that world if you want to stay in it and grow in it.
Okay, cool. That's really good advice. Yeah, I considered doing UX design before I got this job, actually, because I was like, I need to make a career change. I'm not going to make that much money in marketing, like advertising, working at agencies. Like that is such grind work for low pay. So I always tell people who are like, I want to get into marketing. I'm like, no, you don't, because your cap is like maybe 80 grand. Like, don't do it. And so I was really going to take one of those courses for UX design. And like you said, there's so many certifications you can get to like specialize in that. And then I was going to like build out a portfolio and whatnot. And then I found Onomy, and this is my favorite job ever. But maybe in the future, I don't know. I think that's interesting. If people don't know what it is, I think it's such a fun combination of tech and psychology. So, and it pays really well. So
yeah, definitely look into it.
Okay, another question from the audience. How to answer why you took a career break?
Oh, I read this one. Yeah. So I think she was specifically stating like she wants to explain that she has a career break because she was burnt out and stuff, but she doesn't want to make it come off as a negative. I just always say like lead with a positive explanation. So make it, you control your own narrative. So make sure you say like, I chose to take a career break. I chose to take, and just make it very like specific. I chose to take 6 months off. I actually planned for it. Like I knew I was going to have this time to be able to travel and enjoy before I could jump back into a role. And now like I'm ready to give 110%. Then you really drive that part home, right? Like how you're so ready for this role, and then spin it back to how you are a good fit for the role. And then so like they completely forget about the whole career gap, and now they're just thinking like, wow, we need to hire this person. Yeah. So don't be afraid to just be honest. Like, yeah, you don't have to sit there and say, oh, you know, I was really unhappy at my last role, so I needed the break. Just say that you decided to take the break because you wanted it, and now you're ready to get back into the job.
Yeah, that's really good. And it kind of ties back to what you were saying earlier about like just having confidence in your answers, and also doing that wrap up at the end that does the little positive spin to make them focus on why you're a good fit.
Yeah.
Love that. I have a friend right now who's taking not long of a career break, but like a month off, 2 months off to just travel. And you just explain like why that's actually going to help you in the next role.
Right.
Okay. Ooh, this is a good one too. How to job search while pregnant.
Oh man. Okay. So there should never be any, obviously, let's just make that very clear, any sort of bias or anything towards pregnancy. But I have seen it in the workplace where people are like, oh, like this person's going to be on maternity leave and stuff. So I tell people don't say anything. Like don't say anything.
They don't need to know.
I mean, they don't need to know. Everything's via Zoom. It's just your chest up. They're not going to see your belly. Like they don't need to know. I had a situation where I actually placed a girl in a role, and then she found out she was pregnant. And so she called me and she was like, hey, like, I don't think I'm going to take the job because I think it's really rude to like take a job and then have to take off for maternity. And I'm like, no. You are taking the job. And then in a month when you got to leave because you're pregnant or because you have to go, like, you know what I mean, maternity leave, you just say that. Like, there's no question there. So I want to make it very clear, like, you do not need to tell or disclose anything that you don't want to. You don't need to tell them anything. It's completely up to you. If you choose to, that's also fine. But like I said, just be confident in what you want to talk about and control your own narrative. But my advice would just be like, yeah, don't mention it. Doesn't need to be mentioned, especially not until you get the job. Because like, there's, and then I just want to also mention on the flip side, if you're someone that's like, I want them to know, like, I want that honesty, because if in fact they don't want to hire me, like, then that's
I wouldn't want to work
flag.
there anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it depends on everyone's situation, like where how you control that narrative and what you decide to talk about. But that would be my advice.
Yeah, that's really great. I don't know. I'm thinking now, like, if I were to get pregnant, like, I don't know if I would disclose. I
wouldn't say shit.
Because I don't want that bias. Like, as much as I'd like to think, well, if I'm the perfect fit, they won't care. I just think that there probably is like, well, she's going to have to take 6 months off. So let's go with the next best person or someone who's just as good. Like, so
yeah,
I don't know, but to each their own. Okay. I hate answering this question in an interview. And someone asked, how do you answer, what is your career goal?
Yeah. No one likes that question, but the answer I would say is make sure it's always tailored toward the job. So if your career goal is to start your own business, do not say that if you're applying to a corporate position where they want you to climb the ladder, right? Keep that one to yourself. If you're applying to a position where they say we want entrepreneurial spirit and this and that, then you can maybe like lean on the fact like, oh, my parents were entrepreneurs. I have that in my blood. Like my goal is to like run my own business one day. They might, actually appreciate that. I remember when I interviewed, I had my 5th interview at Cintas, and the VP of the Western region, he still till this day remembers this, but he came up to me like a year after I'd been working there. He's like, you're the one that interviewed that like whose dad worked for Boeing for 30 years, right? Like he remembered that I mentioned that because I spun it to say my career goal is to work at Cintas, like because that was the company I was interviewing at, and grow, and I want to become a VP one day, eventually CEO. Like I was just like, I come from a family where my dad worked for the same company for 30 years. Literally all of that makes me want to vomit. Like
I was going to say, was that truth at the time?
No, none of that was what I wanted. But like, that was the reason I got the job, because he was like, I love that answer. Like you had this plan. I'm like, yeah, whatever.
But meanwhile, your internal plan was, I'm going to get this job, make money, and then I'm going to leave and do my own thing. And that's fine. They don't need to know that.
Right. So just make sure it's like spun in the way of like, kind of showing that you're going to add leverage to their team. And obviously like, people are going to be like, oh my God, she's telling me to lie. It's like, no, don't lie if it's something important to you, right? I don't care if they see me at that company or not. That's not something I care about. But if they want someone that, wants a specific type of tool or software and I don't want to work in that, then that's not something I'm going to lie about. So there's a difference there. But yeah, I mean, in terms of a career, like just tell them, like, think about what the trajectory of that role would be. So maybe it's like to move into leadership one day. So you could say that, or maybe it's to own a certain type of the project for the company. You can talk about that, like becoming a specialized, like subject matter expert. So depending on really what you want. So if you don't want to be a leader or manage people, that's perfectly fine. Just don't say that, right? Say that you want to move into specialized projects. So just kind of like pick your path.
Yeah, I love that. I have a question. This is something that I feel like is relevant to a lot of people right now, and you probably know what I'm going to say. But with all of the layoffs happening, what would your advice be to people who got laid off? Like, what should they do right now? And do you think it's a more competitive job market because all of these huge tech people are now looking for jobs?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's definitely 100% not easy. Like, you're going to have more competition. My best piece of advice is reach out to recruiters, find people that have openings that are like, they need people too, right? So it goes both ways. So find some recruiters. Don't be afraid to post on LinkedIn. Like, hey, there's so many like posts that go viral because people post about like getting laid off and like, here's my experience, here's what I want. And then people start to tag people and you never know what can happen. Also, if you do want to reach out to a hiring team or a recruiter on LinkedIn, be super specific. Don't just say, hey, I got laid off, like I'm looking for my next role. Say, I work in this. this is my title, this is the industry, this has how much money I want to make. This, like, lay it all out there so they know when they see a job that hits those marks, they're calling you. So the more specific you can be in your search, the better. And get after it now. Don't be one of those people that waits like, oh, I got a severance, let me just wait it out. No.
That was literally going to be my advice. I was going to be like, if you got a severance, you should just chill and travel. See, no one take my advice on this podcast. Just listen to Darci because I'm a lazy POS. But keep going. So don't do what I think.
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously there's, again, everyone's situation is going to be different. But, like, let's say you got, 5 to 6 week severance, like, apply to the jobs now, get the job, like, lock it in, and then
be making double. Because you're still going to be making your severance and the new salary, and you'll bypass the people like me who are going to chill on the severance, and you'll have a leg up. So
yeah, was my point, is like, if you wait, there are a lot of people that are waiting right now. I've heard it directly from their mouths. So don't wait, because then you'll have even more competition.
Yeah, I love that. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's so funny.
That's great.
Well, those are all the questions that we got from the DMs.
Nice.
I feel like, I want to close on something fun, actually. What is something people don't know about you?
I guess I can. Okay, this is like, I used to be a professional dancer. Oh, that's something a lot of people don't know about me.
Wait. Professional? What does that mean?
Yeah, like, so I did, like, background dancing in, like, concerts. I was, like, they have, like, the Laker girls. I was a Spark Kid, which is the WNBA version. So you have to, like, try out and, like, make the team and all that. Cool. So I was on that dance team. But, yeah, I've done, like, the Soul Train Awards. I was a background dancer for Will Smith. I did a lot of...
Will Smith? What? When?
Yeah.
Where?
He had a Wango Tango concert. They might still do it today, but he was performing, and so I did the background dancing.
Do you still know the routine?
Oh, of course. Yeah, I still know the routine.
Okay, next time we're in the studio, you're teaching it to me.
Oh my God. Totally. It's actually really easy, so I can definitely do that.
Okay, good, because I am a terrible dancer. Oh, I also wanted to... So, I mean, we're talking to a lot of really cool careers on the podcast. What are some of the people you're most excited to talk about on future episodes, and people who we haven't had on that we could, like, call out? Like, if anyone knows this type of person, who do we want to talk to?
I would love to talk to someone that works, like, I love animals, so, like, either a veterinarian or, like, someone that works at a zoo, because I feel like there's some, like, kind of controversy around, like, if zoos are good, bad, like, what that is. I would love to hear more about that. I'm excited. There's a doula coming on. I don't know much about that profession, so I cannot wait to talk to her. I think there's, like, a professional person that can, like, cuddle pandas, right? Didn't you send me that?
Oh my gosh.
Someone sent me that?
Yeah.
It's like a legit job.
We need to find that person.
I know. How do we find that person? I mean, and if you guys know anyone that has, like, interesting jobs or just jobs you want to learn more about, like, we can try and find those people. So definitely write us and let us know.
Yeah. Everyone DM the Down and Dirty podcast on Instagram and tell us about the weird jobs that you want to know about.
Yeah, definitely. Because mine isn't that weird, but hopefully it was somewhat interesting.
No, I think it's so interesting. And I have literally always wondered because, as going through my career, there have been times where I'm like, dang, if I just did recruiting, I could be rich right now. But, like, that's not necessarily true. But I was always curious about how to do that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I think at the end of the day, like, I definitely think there has to be again, that purpose behind everything. So don't just do something, if your purpose is to just make a bunch of money and you're willing to take the, like, craziness of a wild boss or, a really hard job, then maybe that can fuel you and that's your purpose. Sure, that's fine.
Which has never fueled me, clearly, because I'm in the arts and and that's fine.
Totally. Yeah. I think it's just interesting to learn that there's so many opportunities out there. That's probably my biggest regret, is, like, not researching enough of, like, what was out there when I graduated college. I just had no idea. And I feel like so many people come to me, they're like 5-6 years into their career and, like, I want to pivot. I have no idea like what type of jobs are out there for me. So we just, like, go through them all. That's, like, my favorite thing to do, is, like, go through all these different types. Like, hey, what do you like to do? Let's clarify that. And then let's go through exactly what you could be. Like, It's really fun.
Yeah, it's so fun. That's why this podcast is amazing, because there have already been people that I'm like, what? Like a human design reader? You can be a professional.
Yeah.
Like there's so many interesting
Food
careers.
stylist.
That,
Yeah, definitely. That was
I
so
wish
cool.
I had known about that sooner. So cool.
Well, thank you so much for being the interviewer today.
Yeah.
I had a great time being interviewed. And yeah, I can't wait for our chat next week. And if you've missed any of my episodes so far, this is me saying, go listen, leave us a 5-star review, write something, and tell us how much you love us. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to that Onomy podcast. Onomy is a creator-led educational platform that teaches you the things you wished you learned in school so you can thrive in adulthood. Onomy lessons are completely free and they're taught by some of your favorite creators from around the internet. Head to onomy.co to start learning about things like budgeting, investing, taxes, how to thrive in your relationships, how to find your dream job, and so much more. That's onomy.co, onomy.co. See you there.